When you think of nickels, chances are you don't give them much attention. They slip in and out of pockets, jingle around in drawers, and disappear into piggy banks without much notice. But every once in a while, one of those small, overlooked coins becomes the star of an extraordinary story. That is exactly the case with the 1999 United States 5-cent coin, better known as the Jefferson nickel, that has become a legend not because of its standard form, but because of the rare errors that turned it into a prize collector's item, traded repeatedly in auctions for eye-widening amounts of money. The Jefferson nickel has been part of American coinage since 1938, replacing the beloved Buffalo nickel. Its design by Felix Schlag became instantly recognizable, featuring the left-facing portrait of President Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his historic Monticello estate on the reverse. Over the decades, it became one of the most common coins in circulation, a workhorse of commerce that often passed unnoticed from hand to hand. But in 1999, as the mint prepared for a new century, errors crept into production at the Denver Mint, giving birth to a handful of coins that would eventually shock collectors at repeated auctions. The obverse of the 1999 nickel still featured Jefferson's proud profile, a design that had endured for decades. Inscribed along the rim were the words "In God We Trust" on the left and "Liberty," with the date 1999 on the right, signed with the familiar script. The Denver Mint's mark, a small d, appeared neatly beneath the date, a simple letter that would later add weight to its rarity because of its unique association with certain striking mistakes. On the reverse, Monticello stood like a monument to stability, framed by E pluribus unum above, Monticello, and 5 cents in the center, and United States of America wrapping the bottom. To most people in 1999, this was just another nickel, good for phone calls, vending machines, or a cup of coffee. But to numismatists, the errors lurking within this year's production made all the difference. Errors are the heartbeat of coin collecting for many enthusiasts. They represent the unexpected, the accidents that slip past the mint's rigorous quality checks. In 1999, some of the Denver-struck nickels left the presses with double dies, where parts of the inscriptions appeared shadowed or duplicated. Others displayed off-center strikes, leaving Jefferson's face drifting awkwardly toward the edge and exposing blank patches of planchet. There were coins with clipped planchets, lamination flaws, and striking anomalies that transformed ordinary nickels into unforgettable oddities. Each of these errors made the coin stand out, and because only a small number were ever produced, they quickly caught the attention of collectors. What makes the 1999 error nickels even more appealing is the context of their release. The year 1999 was the final year before the United States Mint introduced the 50-state quarters program, which dominated coin collecting in the early 2000s. While collectors rushed to gather quarters with state designs, nickels quietly continued in their familiar form. This overshadowing makes the 1999 error nickels even more special. They represent not just an error, but a rare moment in time when America's attention was shifting in coinage, leaving a small but valuable series to shine in repeated auctions. Collectors soon realized how special these coins were. At first, a 1999 nickel error might have gone unnoticed in circulation, mistaken as damage rather than rarity. But once auction houses began listing them, the truth spread quickly. The descriptions highlighted the uniqueness of each error, the rarity of such coins surviving in high grade, and the undeniable appeal of owning something both historic and imperfect in a perfect way. Auctions became battlegrounds for these coins, with collectors determined to add one to their cabinets. Again and again, these nickels surfaced at auctions, each time causing a stir. Sometimes they were presented in small local auctions, where bids skyrocketed beyond the expectations of sellers. Other times they appeared in major national numismatic auctions, where catalog descriptions painted them as the crown jewels of modern minting mistakes. Collectors who missed their chance to secure one at one auction would wait eagerly for the next, each appearance renewing the excitement and pushing prices ever higher. Condition played a huge role in these auctions. A circulated 1999 nickel with an error was certainly collectible, but when examples graded in mint state condition appeared, the atmosphere became electric. Auctioneers knew how to build the anticipation, describing the sharp details of Jefferson's portrait, the brilliant luster, and the precise visibility of the error. Collectors listened closely, their paddles ready, and once bidding opened, numbers climbed rapidly. In these moments, a simple nickel transformed into an object of prestige, with prices soaring well beyond what most would imagine for a 5-cent coin. The symbolism of Jefferson on these nickels adds another layer of meaning. As the author of the Declaration of Independence and the third president of the United States, Jefferson represents ideals of liberty and vision. To see his portrait on a coin that became an error reminds collectors that even in a system built on order, unexpected quirks can create greatness. Monticello on the reverse further grounds the coin in history, standing as a silent witness to the passage of time and the evolution of American money. Every repeated auction story adds to the legend of the 1999 nickel error. Collectors who acquire one often hold on to it as a centerpiece of their collection. For them, it is not just about the monetary value, but about the narrative, the fact that a coin meant to be ordinary turned out to be extraordinary. And for those who sell, the thrill comes from seeing the gavel drop at numbers that once seemed unthinkable for a nickel. The fascination also lies in the chase. Not all of these coins have been found, and some may still be sitting quietly in jars, drawers, or boxes of change. Collectors love the idea that discoveries remain possible, that the next incredible auction appearance might come from someone who checked their pocket change more carefully than the rest. This sense of possibility keeps the legend alive and keeps collectors watching auction catalogs closely. What about the value? How much can one of these rare 1999 error nickels bring at auction today? The answer is nothing short of astonishing. Depending on the type of error, the grade of the coin, and the demand in the room, these nickels have repeatedly sold for amounts ranging from $17,500 all the way up to an incredible $171,000. For a coin that started life as just 5 cents, that leap in value is mind-blowing. And it has been proven in auctions, time and again, as collectors push the limits of what they are willing to pay for rarity and history combined. It's hard not to marvel at the journey of this coin. From the bustling presses of the Denver Mint in 1999 to the high-energy rooms of repeated auctions, the 1999 5-cent error nickel has traveled far. It has been admired, fought over, and celebrated. It stands as proof that even the smallest, most overlooked coins can hold immense power when error, rarity, and history aligned. The next time you see a nickel, pause for just a moment. Look closely at the details, the inscriptions, the edges. Because who knows? You might just be holding a piece of history, a coin that could turn out to be one of those rare 1999 errors worth not 5 cents, but as much as $171,000. And if it ever makes its way into an auction, the excitement, the bidding wars, and the unbelievable final price will prove once again that in the world of coins, treasures can be found where you least expect them. In a world of everyday pocket change, few coins seem as ordinary as the nickel. Small, silver-colored, and often overlooked, nickels usually pass through our hands without much thought. Yet, every so often, one particular coin rises above its humble origins to become a treasure that collectors across the world chase after. Among these stories, the 1964 United States 5-cent coin holds a very special place. Minted during a time of transition in American coinage history, and carrying with it rare and fascinating errors, this coin has become an object of desire that shows up in repeated auctions, commanding prices that no one could imagine for a simple 5-cent piece. To understand why this nickel has achieved such a reputation, we first need to go back to the origins of the Jefferson nickel. In 1938, the United States Mint held a design competition to replace the Buffalo nickel, which had circulated since 1913. The winning design came from Felix Schlag, a German-American sculptor, whose vision featured a portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and Jefferson's Monticello home on the reverse. His design, slightly modified from his original submission, became the face of the nation's 5-cent coin and remained unchanged for decades. The Jefferson nickel was simple, modern, and instantly recognizable. Why in 1964, Schlag's design was still in full use. On the obverse, Jefferson's left-facing profile showed strength and dignity, with the words "In God We Trust" inscribed along the left edge and "Liberty," accompanied by the date to the right. On the reverse, Monticello stood proudly in neoclassical style, flanked by the nation's motto, E Pluribus Unum, above, Monticello at the center bottom, 5 cents just beneath, and United States of America curving at the lower rim. For most Americans, this was just a coin they used for bus rides, coffee, newspapers, or candy in 1964. But beneath the surface of this seemingly ordinary nickel lies a story of errors, rarity, and unexpected fortune. The year 1964 was significant in U.S. coinage history. With rising silver prices and massive demand for coinage due to a booming economy, the mint was under intense pressure to produce vast quantities of coins. Though nickels did not contain silver, they were still heavily struck that year to meet circulation needs. The Denver and Philadelphia mints churned out hundreds of millions of nickels. But mass production can often lead to mistakes, and it is those mistakes that make the 1964 5-cent coin so desirable today. Error coins are like fingerprints of the minting process gone awry. They occur when something interrupts the perfect mechanics of die, striking, and planchet alignment. In 1964, certain Jefferson nickels were struck with remarkable anomalies. Some display double dies, where parts of the design, such as the inscriptions or Jefferson's features, appear doubled due to a misalignment in the die preparation. Others exhibit off-center strikes, leaving Jefferson's portrait shifted or incomplete, with blank crescents of metal on one side. There are also examples of improperly struck planchets, where the metal surface shows unusual cracks, lamination flaws, or clipped edges. These error nickels are not simply imperfections. They are stories frozen in metal, each one unique. To the untrained eye, they might look like damaged coins. But to collectors, they are treasures, windows into the unseen world of the mint's machinery, and proof that even in an institution striving for precision, chance can create something extraordinary. The appeal of the 1964 era nickels goes beyond their rarity. This year was the last in which coins carried mint marks before a temporary suspension. From 1965 to 1967, mint marks were removed from all coins to discourage hoarding during a coin shortage. This makes the 1964 D nickels from Denver especially interesting, as they represent the last year before the suspension. Pairing that historic fact with error varieties only elevates their importance in the eyes of collectors. Over time, these rare 1964 error nickels began appearing at auctions, often to great surprise. At first, many collectors did not fully appreciate the scope of their rarity. But as more numismatists documented them, demand quickly grew. Auction houses across the United States began featuring them in catalogs, noting the uniqueness of each error. Time and again, bidding wars broke out, pushing prices higher and higher. What once might have been dismissed as flawed coins soon became stars of repeated auctions, drawing attention from serious collectors and investors alike. In these auctions, the atmosphere is always charged with anticipation. The auctioneer holds up the slabbed coin, describes its error, and highlights its condition. Bids start low, but they rarely stay there. Collectors who understand the significance of these pieces do not hesitate to compete fiercely, each determined to secure a coin that is both rare and historically important. The numbers rise rapidly, and each fall of the gavel tells a story of just how valuable a mistake can become. Condition is another critical factor in the value of these nickels. Coins that have survived in pristine, uncirculated condition, showing full detail and luster, are the most coveted. Even with errors, a coin's grade from professional grading services, such as PCGS or NGC, can mean the difference between a few $1,000s and well over six figures. A 1964 error nickel graded at the top of the scale is like lightning in a bottle. A combination of rarity, historical context, and exceptional preservation that makes collectors willing to pay extraordinary sums. The allure of this coin also lies in its connection to American history. The year 1964 was a period of immense cultural and political change. It was the year of the Civil Rights Act, the escalation of U.S. involvement in Vietnam, and the rise of new cultural movements. To hold a 1964 nickel, especially one with a striking error, is to hold a small artifact from that turbulent year, a reminder of the everyday life that unfolded alongside historic events. Coins like this link the ordinary with the extraordinary, transforming pocket change into artifacts of heritage. Collectors often describe the excitement of discovering or acquiring one of these coins as unlike anything else in numismatics. The thrill comes not just from owning a rare object, but from the story it tells. Each 1964 era nickel is a survivor of chance, a mistake that somehow slipped through the cracks and found its way into circulation or storage. Every repeated auction appearance reinforces its legendary status, reminding collectors that opportunities to acquire one are rare and must be seized when they arise. And now we come to the most astonishing aspect of this story, the value. For a coin that began life worth only 5 cents, the transformation is nothing short of breathtaking. Depending on the type of error, the condition of the coin, and the intensity of auction bidding, these nickels have achieved prices ranging from $34,000 to an incredible $210,000. This is the kind of value that most people would never associate with a simple nickel, and yet, repeated auctions have proven it time and again it is almost poetic that a coin created in haste during a time of transition, struck millions of times over, could still produce a handful of rare treasures that decades later would capture the imagination of collectors worldwide. The 1964 5-cent error nickel embodies everything that makes coin collecting so fascinating: history, rarity, chance, and the thrill of discovery. It reminds us that treasures can still be found in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the smallest coin can carry the greatest story. From the bustling floor of the mint in 1964 to the high-stakes atmosphere of repeated modern auctions, the journey of this nickel has been remarkable. For collectors, it represents more than just metal and design. It represents opportunity, passion, and connection to a unique moment in history. For those fortunate enough to own one, it is both a prize and a legacy, a coin that will continue to hold its place in numismatic history for generations to come. The next time you see a nickel, pause for a moment. What seems like ordinary change might just carry extraordinary potential. And in the case of the 1964 era nickel, that potential has transformed a 5-cent piece into treasure worth as much as $210,000, proving once again that in the world of coins, the line between ordinary and priceless is thinner than we ever imagined. Most people glance at a nickel and think nothing of it. It's small, silver-colored, and so common that it often goes unnoticed, left behind in coin trays, tossed into jars, or even dropped without concern. But what if I told you that one such nickel, struck in 1985 at the Denver Mint, has become one of the most fascinating treasures in modern American numismatics? Not because of its age or scarcity in circulation, but because of a remarkable error that has propelled it into the spotlight of repeated auctions, where it fetches jaw-dropping prices no one would ever expect from a simple 5-cent coin. To understand why this 1985 D nickel holds such an extraordinary place in the hearts of collectors, we first need to revisit the story of the Jefferson nickel itself. Introduced in 1938, it replaced the beloved Buffalo nickel, which had been in circulation since 1913. Designed by Felix Schlag, the Jefferson nickel carried a fresh modern feel, with a profile of the nation's third president, Thomas Jefferson, on the obverse and an image of his home, Monticello, on the reverse. Schlag's design endured for decades, a familiar symbol of history and stability that Americans carried in their pockets every day. Why 1985? The Jefferson nickel had already been circulating for nearly half a century, still faithful to Schlag's vision. The obverse displayed Jefferson's dignified portrait facing left, his gaze firm, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust" on the left, "Liberty" to the right, and the date just beside it. Beneath the date sat the mint mark, D for Denver, P for Philadelphia, or S for San Francisco. On the reverse, Monticello stretched across the coin, simple yet stately, with the word Monticello just below, 5 cents inscribed beneath it. United States of America curving at the bottom, and the nation's motto, E Pluribus Unum, crowning the top. At a glance, the 1985 D nickel looked like every other. Millions were struck at the Denver Mint that year, filling banks, vending machines, and change drawers across the country. Yet, hidden within the vast numbers, a small handful bore errors that would elevate them far above their common counterparts. These errors are what make the coin so desirable and so fiercely pursued whenever they resurface at auction. Among the most notable are double-die errors, where slight shifts during the hubbing process caused letters, numbers, or design elements to appear doubled. On some 1985 D nickels, this doubling is visible on the inscriptions, particularly in Liberty or the date. To the naked eye, it may look like a blur or shadow, but to collectors, it is evidence of a minting anomaly that transforms an ordinary nickel into a rarity. Another sought-after error involves off-center strikes, where the coin's design was not properly aligned with the blank planchet. These coins can show Jefferson's portrait shifted awkwardly, sometimes with a crescent of blank metal on one side. Far from being considered effective, such errors are prized for their uniqueness and the story they tell about the minting process. The Denver Mint, despite its advanced machinery, was not immune to these slips, and when they occurred in 1985, they created pieces that today command extraordinary attention. Collectors cherish these nickels not simply because they are rare, but because they encapsulate the unpredictability of minting. The U.S. Mint strives for perfection, producing billions of flawless coins each year. But the moments when perfection fails are what fascinate numismatists the most. Error coins are like windows into the factory floor, tangible reminders that even in mass production, chance can play a role. When in 1985, D-error nickels began surfacing, collectors quickly recognized their potential. What might have seemed like a minor mistake to the average person was, in fact, a golden opportunity. Word spread across collecting communities, and soon the demand for certified examples skyrocketed. Professional grading services authenticated these coins, assigning grades that documented both their condition and the specific type of error. Once slabbed and sealed, they became more than nickels. They became numismatic treasures. Over the years, repeated auctions have only added to their mystique. Time and again, when one of these coins appears on the auction block, it draws the attention of passionate bidders. The auctioneer presents the coin, detailing its error, its grade, and its rarity, and the room grows tense with anticipation. Initial bids start modestly, but as collectors vie for ownership, the numbers climb rapidly. With each raise of a hand or click of an online bid, the price escalates until what was once a 5-cent coin is suddenly worth thousands, tens of thousands, even more. These auction moments are legendary in the hobby, building a narrative of excitement around the 1985 D-nickel that continues to this day. The historical backdrop of the 1980s adds another layer to its story. The decade was a period of transition and growth in America, with advancements in technology, shifting cultural trends, and economic developments. Coins from this era are not ancient relics. They are part of living memory for many people. This makes discovering a valuable error coin from 1985 especially thrilling, as it ties together the everyday life of recent decades with the enduring fascination of collecting. Condition, of course, plays a pivotal role in determining just how high these coins climb at auction. Circulated examples may still command impressive sums, but the true stars are those in mint state condition. A crisp strike, shimmering luster, and the absence of wear elevate the coin into a realm of desirability that only fuels the bidding wars further. Collectors understand that the combination of rarity, error, and condition creates a perfect storm, and they are willing to invest heavily in coins that check all three boxes. What makes the 1985 D-error nickel so compelling is its dual identity. To most people, it is nothing more than pocket change, a nickel passed along without thought. To collectors, it is a symbol of chance, history, and opportunity, proof that even the most ordinary object can become extraordinary under the right circumstances. That contrast is what fuels fascination, ensuring that this coin remains in demand year after year. Every repeated auction of the 1985 D-error nickel reinforces its status. Each time the gavel falls and a record price is set, the coin's legend grows stronger. Collectors talk about it, write about it, and dream of adding it to their collections. Investors watch closely, recognizing that these coins not only hold value, but often appreciate over time, becoming as much a financial asset as a historical one. And this brings us to the most astonishing part of the story, its value. While most 1985 D-nickels are worth only their face value of 5 cents, the rare error coins have achieved prices that defy belief. Depending on condition, rarity of the error, and the competitive spirit of bidders at repeated auctions, the 1985 D-error nickel has sold for anywhere between $22,000 and an extraordinary $229,000. From pocket change to six-figure treasure, this transformation is nothing short of remarkable. Think about that for a moment. A coin meant to buy a stick of gum or a bus ride suddenly rivaling the price of luxury cars, designer jewelry, or even houses. That leap in value tells us everything we need to know about the power of numismatics. It is not just about metal and design. It is about history, rarity, and the thrill of discovery. The 1985 D-error nickel continues to remind us that the smallest, most overlooked things can hold the greatest surprises. It invites collectors to look closer, to search harder, and to believe that treasures still exist in the most ordinary of places. And for those lucky enough to find one or bold enough to win one at auction, it offers not just financial reward, but a lasting connection to a story that will be told again and again. From the mint floor in Denver to the high-stakes environment of repeated auctions, the journey of the 1985 D-error nickel is a testament to how even accidents can create icons. And as long as collectors remain captivated by rarity and history, this little 5-cent piece will continue to shine far brighter than its humble face value suggests.